this session was very great because we had a lot of interaction between each other. So now I think we have time for Professor Bruno to recap and to explain about the next session.
Yeah, so maybe I was thinking, Professor Stefan, maybe you can slightly readjust the schedule because next session was supposed to be some kind of a pitch rehearsal. And my feeling is that it would be more interesting really to just give them some time to work on the field interviews, build a very strong, credible hypothesis of the demand matrix and start working on the opportunity matrix, where the use cases convert into a hypothesis of opportunity. Because, actually the three projects either pivoted or just started not long enough. So they are just at the beginning of this exploration, which is really a foundational exercise, talking to people. And it takes time, as I mentioned. Part of the learning also for the participant is to understand what it takes to go fishing, talk to people whom you don't know, to understand a problem they have that you don't really understand yourself, and that often they don't understand themselves very clearly. So my advice, if you agree, would really be to focus on the field interviews, version the matrix so it does it as many times as it takes, so it does capture the meaning. Give yourself some time to convert these interviews that are already messy, get some a number of mixed, very blurry information into hypothesis of meaning. That's a hard process. So give yourself some time to do that. And next time, what would be interesting for the three projects, really to review the demand matrix and the analysis on the opportunity matrix on some cases.
Yeah, I
So,
totally agree with you that, yeah.
yeah, just
And maybe I just in add to that. So maybe for the next time we can do the discussion about the demand and opportunity matrix and make a strong one. And maybe at the time we can just do a short introduction about how to pitch just for us from us.
yeah.
And maybe, for example, for each teams, you can prepare the pitch slide after the next session. Maybe just you can prepare a video and then share it with us. Then we can give you a feedback before the February in Paris, and then you can do the pitch in Paris. I think that could be a good way.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking that that's a very good point. Maybe we could organize a one-to-one with
Oh yeah,
separate
yeah, yeah.
each team,
Hmm.
quick pitch rehearsal, but
Yeah.
one-to-one after the next session,
Next session. Yeah.
for Paris. We schedule three one-to-one
Hmm.
discussion for each project to see what the pitch could look like and give some
Hmm.
feedback on the pitch.
Yeah.
I can definitely make some time and we can schedule that with no problem.
Yeah, that
Hmm.
would be wonderful. Yeah, we'd like to.
Okay.
I know we are going to have a multiple opportunity to pitch, and then yeah,
Yeah.
we'd like to do it, better if we can kind of practice and
Hmm.
get some feedback from you and your also peers.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
we'll do that. That's
Yeah, yeah. Let's do in that schedule.
so I'm just sharing that. So this is my test platform. So it's a bit messy because every time I'm testing something, I build a fake project. So, but this one, a real one. I just want to get back on the. So you see the accessibility. So this is where you grade in readiness, competitive strengths, and feasibility. Each use cases where you consider that the problem was strong. So strong problem is a 4 or 5, it's between 4 and 5 in terms of grading. So these use cases are then listed there. And then you grade them in terms of readiness. And for each of these criteria, you have two ways of grading. So you can grade the sub-criteria of readiness, reachability, ability to engage, or you can directly grade readiness. I think the use case is ready. So you have two options, you know, to either you grade reachability, ability to engage, and education, and that will compute an average. And that average you can always adjust manually, actually, saying because of course there might be other criteria specific to your project. So, and that grade for readiness, same for competitive strength and feasibility. There we compute the average of the three grades in terms of readiness, competitive strength, and feasibility. And when you go on synthesis, I'll get back to the matrix. There you get back the computed grade on accessibility that you just built in the accessibility part. So you see the first use case, the grade for accessibility is 4.4. And for the first use case, I'm getting this 4.4. And I can still manually adjust it if I think it's unfair. It should be lower because there are things that haven't been taken into account. You know, it's a tool to help your decision, your assessment. But if you give over 4 in terms of accessibility, we will consider that the use case is actually an opportunity, a viable opportunity for your project. And what we do in the matrix, so let me enlarge it slightly, is that you have there the use cases that have more than 4 on accessibility and attractiveness. So this is really the addressable, the territory of your project, the use cases where the problem is strong, and that problem converts into an opportunity. And the matrix is there to analyze the trade-off, so you can adjust the grading, the grades. But the idea is to think about the trade-off, because when you launch your business, you're going to have a trade-off between accessibility, so it's an easy shot, and attractiveness, the potential is strong. So when you think about where to target your project initially, where to focus initially, you're going to have to think about that trade-off between attractiveness, the problem is strong, accessibility, it's an easy shot for me. And think about what's the right balance for putting your project in motion and then growing your project. So the idea of the matrix is to visually help you to think about that trade-off between attractiveness, which is the horizontal axis, and accessibility. So you think about where you could start, you know, focusing on accessibility because they will cope with a technology platform that is not finished, that is still buggy. But the need is less strong, but that still will allow you to mature the technology, and then you can start addressing use cases where the attractiveness is higher, but that are less accessible. So it's a decision tool to help you to think about your roadmap. So we're not yet there. So my recommendation is focus on accessibility there to analyze the use cases in terms of, let me reduce my screen, in terms of readiness, competitive strengths, or feasibility. And you can either grade them as a global criteria or go down to the sub-criteria, the main sub-criteria that explain each of these big criteria. But again, focus on the demand matrix for next time and try to engage the accessibility analysis for the use cases where the problem is strong.
So Professor Bruno, can you show it to me? Because I think at least a few column we try to put the grade for all, you know, readiness, competitive strength, and feasibility, but the circle you show the next, you know, the page synthesis did not, you know, appear to
Yeah, because if, for example, you see,
what's missing? Yeah.
Actually, for the matrix, the system takes into account the adjusted grade for synthesis, for accessibility. So there it computes an average. You see it's 4.4. And in the synthesis, I can adjust that 4.4, saying actually for me it's more a 3.5 because it's not that easy. And if it's 3.5, it will disappear for the matrix because your final assessment is that use case 1 is not that accessible at the end of the day. So you can adjust the average that you computed there. And it's always the adjusted grade that the system will take into account. So in the matrix, you just have the use cases that have over 4 in attractiveness and accessibility, but in accessibility, it's the adjusted grade.
Oh, only appear more than 4
Yeah, yeah.
will appear on the grade. I see.
And the idea is to force to think in a binary mode. You know, you have use cases that are accessible. So they are in my landscape, places where I could consider going, and use cases that are not that accessible, and I should forget about them temporarily. So that's the idea, you know, to like in the demand matrix, you know, we filter the use cases where the problem is strong and where it's not that strong. So we forget about the second group where it's not that strong. And for accessibility, it's the same, you know, identify use cases where you think you can play and use cases where you think it will be harder to play and you forget about them temporarily. That's the goal of the exercise. So the matrix view is really there as a decision tool, you know, to visually understand where are the use cases and what could make sense to start and build a hypothesis of roadmap from there. So my guess that we won't go there. So my advice is refocus on the demand matrix because this is really where it starts. And start working where for the use cases where the problem seems strong on the accessibility. And I think that would be a very strong basis for our next discussion. Okay, that's good.
Okay.
Good for me. Any other question? So, by the way, this is tools that that is a work in progress. Your feedback on the tools will also be very interesting for us.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, as Professor Bruno says, so the material is still testing mode. So if you have some trouble or you find some bug, anytime, please send us a message and then we can try to recover them, solve them. And also, yeah, with the Kikuchi-kun's team, yesterday we did an additional session for 30-minute session. For Masa and Tomoya also, if you think that you are in you're stuck or you need some help, you need some advice, of course, you can send us an email by the Slack, or you can ask us about the 30 minutes additional session. We are welcome to have that. We are happy to have that. So please do not hesitate to ask us question or additional session about the project until the next time. Okay. So,
okay.
Please.
I have one question. Yeah. So my team my team is now the process. Now my team is now the process of conducting an interview.
Yes.
To more people. And but the platform text box is the matrix. So we should write the result of interview to some other documents, and then we finish the interview. We conducted the secondary research based on the result of interview.
Yeah, I think Bruno, we can put just the video and the matrix.
Yeah, you can put some videos in the matrix. It's not let me show you. It's not a problem. Huh?
Mhm.
I can show you quickly. Sorry, I closed. I made a mistake. Let
Yeah,
me
no
reopen
problem.
my browser. Okay, there it is. I lost it. So, yeah, you should see my screen.
Yeah,
So then
it's
you
coming.
have the demand matrix.
Yes.
So you see in primary research, there you have interviews, so these are interviews of people. And the system, once you upload the interview, the system produces a transcript of the interviews and a summary of the interview as well. Which is interesting because, interestingly enough, GenAI will not summarize it the same way you do. So it's usually a very good complement. And the other value, and that's for me, is that I can then translate the Japanese into French. So if you upload an interview in Japanese, actually I can look at it with a French or English subtitles. So that also that material is helping the coaching in a multicultural environment. But the main value is that you can watch it, many times, because you can rewatch an interview that you conducted 3 weeks ago, and very often it will gain a new meaning because you've moved in your understanding of the project. So what the person is telling you will now take a different meaning. So it's really important, at least it's a strong advice, that you put the interviews there, because that's the material you can watch again and again as many times as possible.
Yes, so thank you so much. So my question is, now I conducted an interview for searching their problem, but I think that primary research and such interview like me is not the same. I think, right?
No, it's the same. The primary
Yeah.
research means that talk to people and gather the information. That is the primary research.
Yeah. And
The order is opposite, but this is right.
Right, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just the order is different.
It doesn't
In your
matter
case,
because
yeah.
you see, at the end of the day, all the material is positioned in the matrix. So
Yeah.
So the advice that Professor Stefan and myself gave you is really to focus on primary research, gather some material, so that will feed the matrix, and then complement it with secondary research on the side. But the really important job is primary research, and you put each interview in the matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So the order is primary,
yeah,
and secondary and primary again.
maybe.
Yeah, in your case, that would be a recommendation.
Yeah, so,
Focus on primary research at first.
Actually, I remember that your advice that first secondary research and then I should secondary and I should primary research. So now I am complex about
No, but it's
it.
the beauty of innovation is that every rule can be twisted. So our advice that in your case, because the problem you're tackling is extremely generic, there is a value in starting with primary research. The general rule is usually you start with secondary research because it helps you to point where to look in primary research. But in your case, our advice is actually to do the opposite. So in the videos, yes, that's what we're developing. Usually you start with secondary research and then primary research. But in your case, and also because we're pivoting late, really the advice is really to focus on primary research.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, thank you so much. So after this session, I try to do additional interview to other people, and I try to add some other question like you recommend
Mhm.
uh
Yeah.
the feeding of the spot A to spot B.
Mhm. Mhm.
Spot A to spot B. Yeah, let's see. The story as sorry. Do you make sense? Is it
Mhm.
make sense?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but you have to conduct interviews,
Yeah.
field interviews focusing on the problem.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah.
Do the interview to some diverse segment: family, young, elder, businessman, travelers, as much you can. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I try
Mhm.
to do more interviews, and if I have another question, I try to do I try to comment on the Slack.
Okay, no
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
and we
please.
can schedule, as
Yeah.
Professor mentioned, a 30-minute discussion
Mhm.
on your project, if that helps.
Yeah. So thank you so much, and thank you
Okay.
for your kindness.
Okay.
Okay,
Any
thank you.
any other question? If not, okay. Then thank you very much, everyone. And yeah, we will see you next month. So therefore, yeah, have a
Next
nice
year.
Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yeah, yeah.